I don't know if you can see me. I'm broadcasting live right now. I want to talk today about gratitude, about full spectrum gratitude, because mostly what we know about gratitude is a limited. I've learned this year that it's a limited portion of what gratitude really is. To introduce myself to those of you who don't know me, my name is Thoma von Haften. I've been doing healing and transformation work for 15, 20 years. I don't currently have a name for what I do. I used to be called a journey practitioner. I used to do shamanic work. I used to do future visioning. And since I've left my last teacher and mentor, I don't have a new name for what I do yet. But I've been in this year in a process of searching and becoming new in many ways. And this year that has been the year of gratitude, I've experienced gratitude in many different ways, in ways that led me through an experience of gratitude through the crisis that I experienced after I left my teacher, through challenges in selling our house and needing to let go of keeping things, of giving things away, of not coming out of this transition with a substance that would allow me to buy a new home, and most lately the really deep transformational experience of losing my mom. So I've experienced gratitude in many ways, and I wanted to pass something on to you all about it. Gratitude starts with a feeling of being thankful. That is the first feeling of gratitude, feeling thankful. It is really only the beginning. It's what we most associate with gratitude, but it's really only the beginning. I'm going to show you the other 7 feelings that are the 7 emotions that are embedded in gratitude and that expand gratitude into the transformational force, the life force that it can be. So the next one, and you don't have to write this down. This class is going to be recorded. You can see it again, and I'm happy to send people who would like things in writing a list of these 7 emotions, of the resistances, of the ways that gratitude energizes you, so you don't need to write along. Just listen, just give yourself this time to experience what gratitude can become in your life. So the next feeling that is embedded in gratitude, that you can access through gratitude, is feeling joyful. Feeling joyful is the next stage. After you sense that you're feeling thankful, you can expand this feeling into sensing a happiness and a sense of feeling joyful. That is the first expansion of gratitude. The next feeling, interestingly, is a feeling that that may be surprising to some of you. It's feeling creative. It's the next stage of feeling gratitude. You're feeling creative about something. There's something in your creativity, in your expansiveness of what you can do, of what possibilities there are, of how you can use your talents and your gifts. That is about being creative and feeling creative. The next feeling in the expanded full spectrum gratitude is feeling loved and loving. Within gratitude, when you feel it fully, you will always feel loved and loving. That is the fourth and the center feeling of gratitude. Feeling gratitude is really about feeling loved and feeling loving as well. The next one is feeling vulnerable. That may be, again, surprising. But feeling vulnerable is really important. I'm a great fan of feeling our vulnerability. It is also a quality of self-love. There is a part of self-love that allows us to be open and vulnerable, to feel honest and vulnerable. There is a difference when we feel vulnerable because we are more present somehow. There is more of a connection that happens between one human being to another human being when we can allow ourselves, when we have the courage really to feel our vulnerability. So feeling vulnerable is the fifth emotion in feeling full spectrum gratitude. The next one is feeling understanding. Feeling understanding. And it's an understanding, in my experience, that reaches out to understand a situation or someone literally better. In the moment of gratitude, we understand something or someone more deeply than we have before. The potential to do that exists in the experience of gratitude. And the final one is a surrender of the sense of separateness. When you're really feeling grateful, there is a way in which you are feeling less separate from other people, from the world, from the universe, from yourself. And that is another part, the final culminating sense of the full spectrum experience of feeling grateful. So those are the 7 emotions that you can use to charge up gratitude with. So gratitude is the feeling of these emotions, but the deepest gratitude, as Lazarus describes it, is a celebration of these qualities. In other words, when gratitude becomes really full and really expansive, there is a sense of celebration. There is a sense of celebrating the thankfulness, the joy, the creativity, the love, the vulnerability, the understanding, and the ability to surrender and let go of your sense of separateness. That is what full spectrum gratitude allows you to do. Wow, and I did this really quickly. We're only into this whole thing 9 minutes now. I jumped into doing this broadcast because I wanted to show up again in the world for all of you and for people who don't know my work yet. And the last time I did a broadcast on Google Hangout was in April. At that point, I had decided I wanted to do a global visioning event every other month throughout this whole year. And I was going to do a private or an in-person meditation event with one of the Lazarus recordings about gratitude or about other subjects this year. And then at the end of April, this whole crisis happened where I ended up leaving my teacher and mentor, Tai Kane. And actually through that crisis, I found a deeper connection with Lazarus, who I really consider my teacher. For those of you who don't know Lazarus, and many people think the name pronounces Lazarus, but it's Lazarus. For those of you who don't know, he is a channeled being, a non-physical being who's been channeled since the early 70s by a man named Jack Purcell, and really delivers what I consider the deepest teachings that I've come across. It really resonates with me. And it is a vast and boundless reservoir of tools for our greater potential, our greater spiritual potential, our greater human potential. And through that separation from my teacher, I found a deeper connection with Lazarus, which I was at the time and still am deeply grateful for. I also found a deeper connection with my higher self, another thing that I'm deeply grateful for. So gratitude is that sense of celebration, that sense of when it happens naturally and we really spontaneously and without perhaps a process or a tool tap into these emotions. Those of you who may have experienced that would have probably called that a moment of ecstasy, would have probably called that a moment of an ecstatic experience, because that's how wonderful it feels. I've been using these 7 emotions throughout the year, on and off. Whenever I think of something that I'm grateful for, I go into the experiences and these 7 emotions to give myself this expanded sense of gratitude. And at the end of this little class, I will take you through a bit of a guided meditation to do that, a guided introspection, to do that with something you're grateful for. But before we do that, there are a few more things that I want to share with you about gratitude. Gratitude is also what Lazarus calls a generating energy. And as a generating energy, it motivates us. There are other generating energy next to gratitude, and they are, where are they? They are trust. Trusting is a generating energy. They are valuing. Valuing something is also a generating energy. And as I share with you these other generating energies, you can probably sense for yourself what's in there, what's contained in that emotion, in that energy. It's an energy. So there is gratitude, there is trusting, there is valuing. Happiness is a generating energy. Feeling happy, feeling happiness is a generating energy, and feeling joy is a generating energy. And you may remember that the second level of gratitude, or the first expansion of gratitude, was feeling joy, going in fact beyond happiness into joy. That is the emotion, and it is in and of itself also generating energy. There are the tools of creation, which I love to remind people of. We as human beings, as powerful, eternal, spiritual beings, create our own reality. That's what Lazarus teaches, and that's what I teach people who work with me. And there are 3 forces or 3 tools that we use. Nobody in this world has any other tools but those 3. And they're all future-oriented, and they are desire, expectation, and imagination. Those 3, that's all. Nobody has any other tools to create what our reality delivers to us, what we bring into our reality. Desire, expectation, and imagination, those 3. And when they are aligned, when they are not contradicting each other, we manifest effortlessly. I like to give this example of when you come home after a long days of work and you come into your house and you're really hungry and you open the fridge and there is nothing in there. Those 3 things for most of us are typically very much aligned, because there you stand and you feel a desire to eat something. You're hungry. That's the first energy, the first force that you set into motion. The next thing that happens is that you will expect that you will eat something. As you stand there in front of the fridge, I don't think anybody in our Western civilization doubts that when we have the desire to eat something, we will eat something. So that's a very next thing that kicks in, is the expectation that you will eat something. And then what joins it is the imagination. You start to imagine where you can go, what restaurant you want to visit, or what friend you may call who has, I don't know, desire to cook for you so you can go and eat something. But before you know it, you will sit somewhere and you'll have some food in front of you, and it will feel effortless. You won't sit there and say, oh my God, I created food for myself. It feels effortless. That is when those three forces are aligned. Often they are not aligned with the big things that we're struggling through with life. One of those is not aligned, and that is usually expectation. So in the work that I do, I typically work with a desire. We typically work with the imagination and use the imagination to bring more energy into the reality, and we bring the expectation up to the same level of desire and imagination. And then things do start to manifest. So those are the tools that we create. And there are also raw materials that we create with. The raw materials that turn stuff, that turn energy into our reality. And there are 6 of those. I thought you might find them interesting. They are beliefs and attitudes. The beliefs, the convictions you carry, and the attitudes that you approach your life with, people with, circumstances with, are 2 of the raw materials. There are thoughts and feelings, not just your thoughts, not only your feelings, but your thoughts and feelings that are raw materials to create reality with. And then it comes down to choices and decisions, the choices that you make and the decisions that you make. All of those 6 are the raw materials of your reality that you create. So, gratitude, back to gratitude. Gratitude is a generating energy. I want my little camera to focus on this. It tends to make it a little blurry. I'm not quite sure why. I'm sorry about that, but you can read it. Gratitude is a generating energy. And as a generating energy, it does a whole number of things for us. So I will tell you what it does for you. You may already know that gratitude is a really valuable thing, and that's why you're probably in this class, but I will tell you specifically what gratitude does. So the first thing that gratitude does, it adds dynamism, animism, and fire to what you create. It is both an attractor and a receptor. In other words, when you start working with gratitude, it attracts more of itself. You may have experienced that already. When you really focus on gratitude, you are grateful for being grateful. Gratitude is like a magnet that pulls more things to you that you are then grateful for. It is also a power that turns these raw materials that I just explained to you into the stuff of your reality. So it animates your reality, it adds dynamic to your reality, and it fires up your reality, the creation that you are endeavoring, that you are reaching for. The next thing that gratitude does, it is a powerful component in health and healing and well-being, actually. In other words, there is a direct, I would really love for this to become, sorry about that. It worked when I tried it out this morning. I'm not sure why it's not focusing on it. Actually, feeling gratitude increases your immune system. There are studies that have been done that feeling gratitude increases your immune system. That's pretty mind-boggling. It in relationships, it is a healing agent in giving closure to relationships and in healing relationships. When you feel gratitude for another person, it changes your relationship, it heals your relationship, it grows your relationship, it deepens your relationship, right? Does that make sense? It heals the wounds of love's loss, and loves pain. When you think of the wounds that you've experienced through love, through losing love, or through I think it's called requited love. I'm sorry, that's where my English leaves me. Unanswered love. When you reach gratitude with people who have caused that for you, that pain starts to shift, that wound starts to heal. And it adds also clarity. It adds clarity and purity to those relationships, to your understanding about life. That is that quality of understanding, that emotion that we went through earlier. Understanding other people always happens more easily when there is access to gratitude. Okay, the next one. Now it just switched. Gratitude energizes you. Gratitude sparks your enthusiasm, your passion, and your creativity. It adds aliveness, vim, and vigor, verve, panache, and aplomb to your life. It boosts energy. When you really tap into gratitude, your life becomes fascinating. You become a fascinating person. I find that a really interesting connection through gratitude. Gratitude also grows your valued self. We all have many selves. There's apparently a certain distance where it focuses. We all have many selves. We have a lesser self, we have a greater self, we have a higher self, we have younger selves, past selves, future selves, but there is the valued self, the part of us where we love ourselves, where we value ourselves, where we know ourselves. And gratitude augments, amplifies, and embellishes the valued self. We become more self-aware through gratitude, more self-realized, and we naturally find more self-respect, more self-worth, and more self-esteem. All of those are lifted up through gratitude. Next, gratitude opens to the thrill of living and loving out loud. It awakens that quality in our lives. It helps us to live with a grand presence and a grand voice. It not only feels good, but it inspires us to do good. When we feel grateful, it's much easier to do good things. It also gives us the gift of benevolence and generosity. And the next benefit of gratitude is that it anchors and strengthens loving relationships. We've talked about that a little bit before. This is specifically about relationships, this quality that gratitude gives us. When a couple feels grateful for each other in their lives, it strengthens and builds their relationship, obviously, right? This is also true for friendships. It is also true, obviously, for business relationships, for social relationships. It is the glue that builds community. And as we've seen, it's the health, the energy of health. It brings health and well-being into relationships in general, everywhere, into all relationships. And finally, gratitude generates generosity. It opens the way for gracious giving, receiving, and loving, for exalted giving, receiving, and loving. Those are all the things that gratitude does for you. So you perhaps are more excited about working with gratitude. And I want to show you a little bit about the resistances. We all have built up resistances to feeling gratitude, to allowing gratitude, to looking for gratitude. Surprisingly, we all have some favorite ones. And I'm going to go with you through all of the resistances now. The resistances are important to overcome because gratitude is so essential. When you think about it, gratitude is essential to the survival of humankind. It is essential as an element, as an ingredient in this world that is becoming a new world. We are stepping into a new era of human consciousness, and gratitude is an indispensable, I think is the right word, indispensable ingredient in that. If we want to change this world, we need to understand and use gratitude in a bigger way than we have up until now. So to summon the unspoken powers, we not only need to know what gratitude is, we need to be able to understand and release our resistances. The first resistance is a sense of entitlement. When we feel, when we live in an awareness or in a sense about ourselves that we are somebody who has suffered, who has struggled, who has worked so hard, and we slip into getting stuck in a place of entitlement. In other words, let me explain this a little more clearly. When things come to you and you receive them from a place of, oh, I have suffered so much and therefore I'm now entitled to this, then you will not feel gratitude, right? Can you feel the difference? I'm not saying that everybody who has struggled or everybody who has suffered cannot feel gratitude. Of course we can. But if it has held us in a place of entitlement, if it has held us in this place of, well, now of course I deserve it because I've paid my dues. Of course now I deserve it. I'm entitled to it. Then we won't feel gratitude. And it will diminish what we receive. It will diminish what we create. It will make us smaller and keep us smaller. It will keep us in this place of a person who has suffered because we're using the sense of suffering as a power, a substitute power. Does that make sense? That is the first resistance. Let me turn my page here. The next resistance that we can feel, and as I explain them, see for yourself which ones feel familiar to you. We all have several. We all have a couple that are our favorites. We may know all of them a little bit, but there are usually a couple that are our favorites, even though we hadn't been aware of that. We all have developed favorite ways to keep gratitude at bay. This is important to understand. We all do that. So the next one, the next resistance that we have put up against gratitude is a state of arrogance. A state of arrogance that says, well, I did this myself. I create my own reality. I did this myself. I don't need anybody's help. I didn't get any help. I'm doing everything myself. That also often means I secretly feel better than. I'm so powerful, I'm so strong, I'm so independent. I don't really need help. There is a sense of arrogance. And in this sense of arrogance, we will often not ask for help. We will often reject people and sort of hold situations at bay where something can be given to us, where something can flow our way that we then would feel grateful for. Right? Does that make sense? There's a sense of arrogance. In this arrogance, we are really afraid to receive from other people. And we don't really want to feel grateful because it would be an admission of our weakness, right? As soon as I admit that I'm grateful to you, I need to admit a certain sense of vulnerability, like we saw. I need to admit that somebody had something that I didn't, that somebody gifted me something that I couldn't produce myself. There is, for many of us, there is a sense of weakness in there, and we don't want to feel weak. Feeling weak is really dangerous for many of us. So that's the second resistance, that arrogance. The third resistance is simple fear. Fear to give some things up that have been, here we go, that have been held dear to us. Most of the time, to give up a sense of manipulation and control that I have created through, all right, how do I explain that in a short way without going into a long explanation about self-pity? Many of you have heard me talk about self-pity, and that there are ways in which we use self-pity to manipulate and control other people. Let me just perhaps leave it here to say that we as human beings have developed ways where we use self-pity in order to control and manipulate other people. And we don't want to give that up. It gives us, again, it is a substitute, but it gives us a certain sense of power that we don't want to let go of. So there is the fear of letting go of control and manipulation. There is a fear of being weak, as we have already seen. There is a fear to make a fool of myself. There is a fear to be dependent. There is a fear to be vulnerable. There is a fear to be generous because we don't have a sense that we have enough to give, whether that is material, whether that is emotional, or from our human reservoirs. Many of us don't feel we have enough to give, so we are afraid that we can't reciprocate. So there's fear involved. The next resistance is a sense of fierce independence. This is the partner piece to arrogance. The fierce independence says, again, I do it all myself. If anything, I'm grateful to God. Otherwise, I take care of it myself. I don't really belong anywhere. Even when I join a group, I hide from belonging. I keep to myself. I really subconsciously nurture the sense of being alone. So this sense of fierce independence. Independence is a quality that is so very valued in our culture. To be independent has a really high value, but there is a shadow side to that. There is a way in which we keep things out of our experience through this independence, because it really keeps us from connecting with people. The sixth resistance is embedded in our genetic code. This is important to understand. Our genetic code is predisposed to not feel gratitude. Our genetic code says life is dangerous. There are dangers out there. You have to be aware. You have to be alert. You need to be aware of every danger. You need to look out for the danger. Because if you don't, you will be attacked. If you don't, you're not safe. And feeling gratitude, feeling joy is just too dangerous. If you do, you might not survive. Right? It's a very primal and very old part of our being, and it is in our genetic code. So it's something we need to overcome. We need to consciously let go of in order to feel gratitude. So the final one is that most of us don't really know the depth of gratitude. We don't understand how big gratitude really is. And I don't even claim I know it fully myself, even though I have worked with gratitude. I have listened to Lazarus's recordings about gratitude. I've done the gratitude meditations. I've had it in my small daily action worksheet reservoir, and I've used it a lot. I don't think I've what's the right word? I have gone to the core of gratitude. I don't think I've experienced gratitude in its fullest measure. Maybe there isn't even a fullest measure, but I know there is more. And I know that because this is the year of gratitude, I have the desire to really focus on it for the last month, to really look at it every day, just to see what it will do, just to see what happens when I do that. So to finish up, I'm sorry that I invited a bunch of you onto the Google Hangout as a guest. And had you clicked that link, that would have enabled you to be here in the broadcasting with me. I would have seen a little picture of you down here, and I could have interacted with you. Maybe I didn't make that clear enough. That's one of the drawbacks of me jumping in and just wanting to share gratitude with you and not having a whole lot of time to prepare in the midst of Thanksgiving, in the midst of having my daughters here, in the midst of still recovering from this huge life change after my mother died, of being in the middle of selling our house, of planning. Anyway, I don't want to go into too many details here. I would have loved to interview a few of you about what you are grateful for right now. So since I'm not able to do that, I just want to give you a moment to focus on that for yourself. So if you can just scan your life right now, just out of curiosity, no matter how much you work with gratitude or how little you work with gratitude, what is it that you're most grateful for right now? What is it that fills you most with gratitude right now in your life? Just sense that for yourself. And there may be several things, but there may be one thing that has a certain presence, a certain bigness to it, right? A certain sizzle. And I want you to use that in the next little guided exercise that I will take you through. I want you to use that to feel the expansiveness of gratitude. So just hold this something, whatever that is, a person, an event, something you've experienced, something somebody said, some turn that life took. The thing is, it may not feel like something you did, even though you did. You created whatever it was that you were grateful for, but it feels like it was given to you. That's what's so beautiful and so magical about gratitude. Even though we do create it all, when we experience gratitude, it feels like a gift, right? It feels like something just handed us something landed in our lap. in our life in a just extraordinarily beautiful way. So pick something, the big thing, something that you're grateful for. And you may want to close your eyes for this little final exercise. So the first feeling that I'm asking you to feel is feeling thankful. Feel the thankfulness. And just take a deep breath into this thankfulness and just fill your body with it. Just feel it in your body, this thankfulness. Just breathe right into it. And as you do, reach further and feel the happiness. Feel the happiness. And then go beyond the happiness and touch the feeling of joy. How you can leap beyond happiness into joy. There is perhaps a sound that joy is making. And allow yourself to feel the joy and hear the sound of joy. And next you're reaching further and you're breathing into the sense of creativity, feeling creative. You sense your creativity bubbling up. You sense that there is an area, a part of your life, a person that is calling this creativity. And that in this moment there is an easy way to make space for new creative ideas, thoughts, images, solutions. And perhaps there is even a way that you can imagine that will move you into action. It may be something that is showing up right now that you know you can do with your creativity. Just notice that. And as you're expanding further, you are feeling loved and loving. It's both loved and loving. You feel that you're being loved, whether that is directly by someone, perhaps by many people, perhaps by your higher self, by life itself, by God, Goddess, all that is, the universe. And just breathe in that love right now. And sense the beauty and the depth of both the love you are given and the love that you give. And then reaching further and expanding more, allow yourself to feel vulnerable. Allow yourself to feel vulnerable with others, with someone specific, or just with yourself. And notice for me in vulnerability, there's a certain softness, there's a certain letting go. There's a lesser effort of being someone, being something, when we allow this feeling of vulnerability. So see where that takes you right now. And with vulnerability, perhaps too, notice how you might express that. It doesn't always need to be expressed, but sometimes it wants to be expressed. And then reaching further, notice that there is some bigger understanding that has come into your awareness. Notice what understanding is growing in this gratitude. Notice if there is something or someone that's easier to understand. And then finally, as you're taking another breath and expanding even more, you are surrendering some of your sense of separateness. There's a part of your sense of separateness that you can surrender right now, that you can let go of. And in its place, you may feel a connection, oneness, or unity that's becoming more tangible. And just give yourself a moment to enjoy that. Give yourself a moment to breathe into the fullness of this full spectrum gratitude that you are gifting yourself with right now. It is okay to do this. It is safe to do this, to experience gratitude in this way. There is one more way that I want to share with you that you can summon the greater, the unknown powers of gratitude. And that is to detail it, to be very, very specific about gratitude, both with yourself, but also with others. So often we have this way of saying, when there is a big experience of gratitude, we have a way of saying, oh, I can't even tell you how grateful I am. Well, do say how grateful you are. Speak about those specifics. Tell the other person what exactly it was that they did and how and why that made you grateful. Enumerate it, describe it, make it visceral, make it tangible, hold it in your hands and share it with another person in that way. It's a very powerful way to expand gratitude, to give it, to share it. And help the other person to receive that. A lot of the time, and the person on the other end who has done something will also shy away from going into the depth of gratitude. You can help that person to receive your receiving of the gratitude. Can you see how there is a big vortex, a rising vortex that happens when you go into the depth of gratitude in that way, into the expansion. There are other ways in which you can expand gratitude, and those I will share with those of you who will decide to join us on the 4-week online program. It's not a class, it's a program. It's part of my Small Daily Action Magic programs. And it's a very simple, but will be a very profound way to practice gratitude on a daily basis, because you're not tied to a schedule. There is no conference calls or online trainings that you need to attend. I will give you all the tools, but we will exchange our experiences online. We will be able to read what others have written. We will be able to comment, encourage, and acknowledge each other. And we'll just spend a little bit of time every day. It doesn't need to be a huge, long process. It just needs to be a short, efficient, and effective focus on full spectrum gratitude, and to see where that takes us. So I really want to end my year with that focus, and I invite you to join us. We have, in this program, we have room for everybody, because I will not need to do a whole lot of coaching, because it's a very clear and straightforward focus. So I can invite as many of you as want to come into this program. If you do, send me an email. Oh, I should have written down for those of you on YouTube. I think I will put a note beneath the YouTube file if you happen to see me there. send me an email and I will send you the invitation link. It starts on Monday the 1st and it will go for exactly 4 weeks through the holidays, just until, just before New Year's, obviously. And then there'll be right smack next to that will be a new 4-week cycle that will go from New Year's into the new year. So you can do 1 cycle or 2 cycles or skip this one and do the next one. That's completely up to you. I am really excited that I could share all of this amazing teaching about gratitude with you. I hope you have found it valuable. I hope it'll be inspiring whether or not you join me on the 4-week program. And I wish I could ask you if you had any questions. But if you do, you can also write me and I will do my best to answer. And look forward to being in touch with you. I wish you a gratitude-filled winter season and holiday season. All my love.